Hello, my name is Maylin Chen. I'm a first-year international nursing student from Vietnam, and this Story Robe final project is a reflection of my personal and academic journey in Nursing 202, Indigenous Health Studies. Through 5 carefully chosen symbols, I will share how my understanding of Indigenous health has evolved and deepened throughout the semester. Each symbol tells part of my story, not just what I learned, but how I felt, what changed within me, and what I now carry forward as a future nurse. This process has not been easy. It has been emotional, humbling, and eye-opening, but it has also been transformative. As I walk this path, I realized that nursing is not only a science or a skill, it is a relationship. It is about listening, connecting, and learning how to honor different ways of knowing and being. Through this project, I hope to show my commitment to truth, respect, and reconciliation, and my growing ability to challenge anti-Indigenous racism in healthcare. My first symbol shows a peaceful night in Banff with mountains, trees, stars, the moon, a river, and a tent. This image captures a beautiful moment of connection, not just to nature, but to the spirit of the land. Before taking this course, I had never been introduced myself to the land, but now I understand that in many indigenous worldviews, land is a living spirit, not something we own, but something we are in relationship with. There's a saying that always echoes in me. The spirit of the land and our spirit can't be separated. As a newcomer to Canada, I have started to see this land as my second home. My first trip to Banff was more than just an unforgettable memory. It was sacred. We sat by the fire, shared stories, and supported each other in moments of pain and healing. I could see how land carries wisdom, memory, and makes a spiritual bond with me. This reflection connects deeply with Indigenous ways of knowing, being, doing, and connecting. It helps me recognize how colonial thinking reduces land to a commodity, but Indigenous knowledge honors its sacredness. This shift in perspective has made me more aware of how I walk in the world and in whose footsteps I walk. It also reminds me of the importance of reciprocity in relationships, not just with people, but with land, community, and spirit. My second symbol is the Métis infinity symbol intertwined with railway tracks and poppies. This represents Métis identity, resilience, and the painful history of displacement. The infinity symbol represents the endurance and resilience of the Métis people, a culture that grew from the blending of First Nations and European ancestry, but formed its own unique identity, language, and traditions. The railway tracks symbolize the destructive force of colonial expansion, especially during the construction of the Canadian Pacific Railway. The beaded poppies represent Métis artistry and cultural memory. They symbolize both grief and resilience, the pain of colonial violence, but also the beauty and strength of Métis traditions that survive today. Learning about the history of the Canadian Pacific Railway helps me understand that colonial violence is not just a thing of the past. It lives on in the structures we uphold, including in healthcare. As a nursing student, I must recognize how displacement, land theft, and cultural erasure have created intergenerational trauma. I understand how important it is to have a solid stand with Indigenous peoples in their struggle for justice and self-determination. My third symbol features flowing water, sunlight, and leaves, representing Indigenous healing and holistic well-being. The water represents ongoing healing and the interconnectedness of people, land, spirit, and wellness. The sun symbolizes life-giving energy, and the leaves reflect growth and the power of nature to restore balance. This reflection focuses on the concept of colonial shrapnel, the lasting wounds caused by systems like residential schools, the healthcare system, and legal structures. These are not just historical facts, they shape current health disparities. Joe Old Woman's story affected me deeply. He was a cowboy, a track star, a proud man, and he was dying of cancer in silence. There's a line that changed me. I want no government medicine. What I want is medicine that works. It helps me understand that healing is not always found in a pill or a procedure. Sometimes healing is relational. It is found in community, culture, and ceremony. I also learned about elemental kinship, the idea that we are in relationship not just with other humans, but with water, air, fire, and earth. This indigenous worldview reframed my understanding of health. As a future nurse, I must challenge systems that dismiss or devalue indigenous knowledge. I want to help create space for indigenous healing practices in clinical care. Nurses like us have a powerful role in fostering trust, safety, and respect. My fourth symbol is a tree with sparse roots, strong branches, and bright hearts. It represents the strength of indigenous families and the trauma caused by the child welfare system. The tree represents indigenous families grounded in love, tradition, and strength. But the sparse roots reflect how colonial systems have separated children from their communities for generations. The hearts in the branches symbolize the love and healing that nurses can help restore. They reflect our roles as advocates to protect families, support cultural continuity, and push for structural change. Even after residential schools ended, a new form of assimilation emerged: the mass removal of indigenous children into foster care. This is not a coincidence, it is a continuation of colonial violence. I read Cynthia's story. She was taken during the 60s coup along with her siblings. They were abused in foster homes and ran away to survive on the streets. Her story broke my heart, but it also opened my eyes. Child welfare policies are not neutral. They are shaped by racial bias, ignorance, and the erasure of indigenous parenting. As a nursing student, I want to be someone who supports family preservation and community-based care. I admire Kawasis First Nation for reclaiming jurisdiction over child welfare. That is what sovereignty looks like. My final symbol is a stethoscope wrapped around a heart. It represents the values I hope to bring into my nursing practice: compassion, modesty, and equity. The heart represents care, humility, and openness to diverse ways of knowing. The stethoscope reflects clinical skill and professional responsibility, but also the need to listen deeply, not just with ears, but with compassion. This reflection challenged me the most. I learned that whiteness is more than race. It's a framework that defines what's considered professional, objective, or normal in healthcare. It rewards white cultural values like control and rationality, while dismissing emotional, spiritual, or community-based approaches. As an international student from Vietnam, I reflect on how I have been shaped by different norms and how I must always be open to what I have not learned. Even well-meaning nurses can uphold racist structures if they don't examine their biases. The most dangerous form of racial is denial, pretending it does not exist. But it does. And as future nurses, we must be willing to name it, challenge it, and change it. I want to be the kind of nurse who listens without judgment, who sees beyond the chart, and who creates a space for Indigenous patients to feel respected and heard. This final project helps me reflect on how much I have grown, not just in knowledge, but in heart. I now see Indigenous health as deeply intertwined with culture, history, land, and identity. I have learned that healing must be relational, and colonial systems will shape our present, and that as a nurse, I have both a responsibility and a privilege to advocate for changes. These symbols, from the mountains of Ban to the railway, from Joe Old Woman's words to the foster care system, and finally to the structures of whiteness, tell a story of learning, awakening, and commitment. I am still learning. I will always be learning. But I carry these lessons with me now into every classroom, every clinical placement, every conversation. This is my story, Robe. and I'm grateful to share it with you. Thank you for listening.